Hello and welcome to the Triple Shot podcast. So we are on to episode 2. Similar to episode 1, we couldn't stop speaking. So this is also split into 2 different sections. So you can enjoy part 1 today and then we'll keep you on tenterhooks for a week for part 2. Enjoy. Welcome back to the Triple Shot podcast with myself, Paddy.
Me, Kirsty.
And me, Ross.
And today's episode is definitely going to have more direction. We're going to start off talking all things coffee.
Why have you set us up like that, Paddy? This might not have more direction.
Oh no.
Just off the back of the last episode, we talked a lot of sport, but I want to bring coffee a bit more into the conversation because it does really tie us all together. But mostly you, Paddy, in that you really tried to combine those two worlds of kind of performance sport, not necessarily performance sport, but how coffee can be utilised in a sport arena with PowerPress coffee as it ended up.
Yes. So, what was it? 2018, we go back.
Let's flash. Do we have the sound effects?
Scooby-Doo moment.
Yeah.
7 years when we started PowerPress, me and my brother. Yeah, so it was trying to combine, it was using caffeine as like a natural performance booster for people in sport, and it's one of the most like widely researched supplements that actually works.
Just funny that most people wouldn't even think of it as a supplement.
Yeah.
First of all.
Yep.
It's just your go-to when you wake up out of bed and you just knock back a couple of coffees.
Yeah, but it's actually doing stuff to your insides.
Yeah, and it was like super interesting to find out more about it. I suppose with PowerPress, we very much went into like the gym market and probably a little bit of like CrossFit-y functional fitness, where they're kind of tanning cans of Nocco.
Yep.
Which is like fruity. I've actually only ever had one, but it's like fruity, sugary.
It's like super posh Red Bull.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's actually quite nice.
CrossFit Red Bull.
CrossFit Red Bull, there you go.
With a lot of kind of nonsense stuff in it that actually didn't do much, but they kind of marketed it quite well.
Yeah.
And I suppose we wanted to kind of like strip it back completely, go like completely natural. I suppose that's where we worked with like the Good Coffee Cartel. They kind of sourced the beans, roasted the beans. We took them to Strathclyde Uni, got them kind of caffeine tested in different brew methods, so you could like to a certain degree you could track your caffeine intake, because there's obviously certain amounts that you need to have to then perform at a good level.
And you found out that like different roasts and different methods gave you different caffeine content, different filter brew methods gave you different caffeine outcomes.
Yeah, like I think when we did it with like the French press cafetiere, it was coming out at like, one of the coffees was like per 300 mil, I think it was nearly like 300 milligrams of caffeine.
That's like a can of Red Bull's like 80
grams,
yeah.
Which I remember when we first started it and I was still playing, I was like obviously just trying it out, when to have it and stuff. I remember I used to be on like 4 a day, which is obviously not optimal for sports performance.
No.
Just
Peaks
to
and
note
troughs.
that.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Not good for the stomach either if you're about to go squat.
Yeah. A lot of jumping.
Yeah, but yeah, it was quite interesting. Like espresso was actually fairly low, or probably like more similar to like a Red Bull, whereas like, obviously cafetiere was like punchy.
I'll never forget coming into Toro specifically, because you guys used to do flights.
Yes,
You
still do, yeah.
Still do flights?
Still do.
Me and Paddy knocked back 2 flights each at
Yes.
lunchtime.
We've actually had to start telling folk to share it.
Yeah, fair.
Really?
We do now.
2 flights each. Is it a double espresso?
So yeah, double espresso, a flat white or
Which is 2
a long
espressos.
black, which is also 2, and then a filter, which is probably technically more than 2. So it's essentially it's about 6 shots of coffee.
Oh, yeah. And we had 2.
Yeah, I remember absolutely like you're wired on it.
Well, we used to tell, when we first started doing it, we didn't tell them to share it, but we said, if you're going to have it, I would buy a cake,
Oh, yeah,
to
soak
soak
that up.
eat something with it.
Having too many drinks.
It's like, get the chips on the way home, eat something with it, and then we realised a few folk were leaving quite jittery.
Yeah.
So we then started saying, it's a sit-in tasting experience that you should share. Not that you have to, but you should share.
Coffee time.
Because it's a lot of caffeine.
The insurance policy
I wouldn't-
in the shop is having to change.
I wouldn't drink a flight. I wouldn't do a flight.
I don't think I would now.
We did
Yeah.
too.
I know, wimps.
But yeah, I think that's quite interesting about like the caffeine and performance. I think it is like massively, probably still is untapped a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so. Especially working in a coffee shop, though, I would have thought I would get a lot more sporty athletes coming in, and we don't get a lot. But we get a lot of folk that do park run that come in after for coffee, but we don't tend to get anyone that's like going to the gym or say yourself that's going to do a session,
Yeah.
which is interesting. But I think the general public use caffeine wrong,
Yeah, I would agree.
if
Because
there's such a thing.
no, yeah, you're probably right. I think a lot of, like you said, a lot of people use it as like it's a very social going out for coffee,
Yeah.
coming into like a coffee shop is so social. I think that's what we found with PowerPress. It was very much like, oh, I don't want to have a coffee before I train. I'll have it after.
Yeah.
When actually, obviously,
Was it the peak time was about an hour before you, hour and a half?
testing me now.
Yeah. Come on,
I think
Patrick.
it was about an hour, and it's after you wake up. You're supposed to not always have it straight away. You're supposed to wait, I think, between 60 to 90 minutes.
But your one was nice, I think, for folk, because I think there's a stigma to like Monster, Red Bull, so people think they're having something that's not good for them, which isn't. But they were like, oh, but it's like cold brew, or it's just having my morning cup of coffee. But they were, because you marketed it as a sports specific, people presumed it was healthy, because Red Bull doesn't, even though they sponsor sports teams, don't market it as a sports drink, but it does say it on the can, if I remember correctly. And when we used to get it at rugby, the Red Bull girls used to come and drop cases off before games and told us how to drink it as a sports drink, and it's not straight from the can, FYI. You're supposed to do half the can and half a bottle of water, and you drink the bottle, or drink it, say, during your warm-up, and then drink the rest at half-time.
Wow.
You're not supposed to scull a can.
Just, you're supposed to kind of, not microdose
Yeah,
it, but like
yeah,
spread
essentially,
it.
yeah. Was it Jamie Vardy, the Leicester footballer, that apparently drinks like 4 before warm-up and stuff like that, and
I remember
4 at half-time and
Teeth
that.
will be falling out if it nothing else.
We used to when I was the Celtic player eating Tonics tea cakes on the bench when he
Good
was
lad.
sort of subbing
I
it,
grew up next
but
to the factory.
yeah, but I think like, he drank them wrong. He had like eight during a game.
Yeah, I remember having, it was like a uni event sponsored by Red Bull, and it was like, oh, free Red Bull. I
Free
think I
Red-
had 5, and I was like, wow, I feel.
Remember when the Scottish
Extremely
Open used to be at Kelvin Hall, and
Yeah.
there used to be free Red Bulls, and the younger players were just like ramming them into their
Yes.
I think we've all been there, but I was a bit weird before games. I used to struggle to eat and stuff, so the last thing I would want would be sculling a Red Bull. But
Skull and a coffee.
sculling, yeah, but that's the funny.
In the perfect.
But that's the funny thing. When I woke up, I would make a coffee, but then I would never think of drinking a Red Bull.
Yeah, I take my AeroPress everywhere, and I'll make it and put it into my Kinto flask, and as I'm watching the games that are before my game, I'll be sipping away at it. Not
Is that
really in a
Two
performance.
sponsorship name drops there, was that? AeroPress and Kinto? Yeah.
If you guys want to be involved, you hit us up on Instagram, Troubleshot Podcast. I was going to say .com.
.com, yeah.
What age am I?
Not quite yet.
/ desperate. Free kit.
HTTP.
Yeah, free kit, yeah. But you take it everywhere, AeroPress.
Yes. Yeah.
Is that your preferred choice of
For,
brewing method?
for travel, yeah, for sure. At home, Mockamaster, pure ease, and I like to save I don't really want an espresso machine at home, because I like to save that for nice going out coffees. You want the cafe experience at home. I like
Yep.
to filter at home, and then espresso based out.
What about you? Anything?
I'm an AeroPress. I've had an AeroPress since day one.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal AeroPress at home. And
Still the same one?
I think it is actually.
Yeah.
Believe it or not. I've maybe
Um,
replaced the rubber thing.
I was about to say, yeah, the plunger goes after a while.
I'm
Yeah.
the same one since Christmas 2017, I want to say.
Best present ever.
Breastplate, thanks,
So
Mom.
versatile. Robust actually, quite like a badminton player.
It's like sport and coffee again.
Yeah.
It's all
Good
linked.
throwback to episode 1, Patrick.
But I guess, like, obviously you're, like, competing now and obviously having coffee, like, when you're travelling. Like, how do you find that impacts you when you're, I suppose, training or competing?
It's more of just like a because I like the taste thing. I don't necessarily like pin it with performance, but I try not to have it super before a game because I know there might be a little drop off in whatever's happening in your brain stimulus wise. So I do try, and if I'm gonna have coffee pre-match, I'll try and have it like relatively close to the match because I think that's when everything will be ramping up. But it's not, I'm not religious about it, but I like to have
But
it.
is it like a thing, shoes in the bag, racket, make my coffee? It's not like your checklist. But do you think it's got a placebo effect now? It's just something you now do?
Potentially, and it keeps me kind of like in a similar routine to at home, and it keeps everything quite
Do you make your brew and sip it while you're packing up and stuff, or is it when you're in your hotel room, or do you just try and take it with you?
Depends on the timing of game, because I could be on it, I can actually be on at 8 a.m. I've had a couple of 8 a.m.
No need. Rude.
Early rise.
And
Rude.
you want to be up, you want to be awake at least 3 hours before you have to perform. So, yep. So I'll definitely make a coffee on those mornings and have it at kind of like 6:30, 7, and then I have to start warming up about 7:15 to play at 8.
So you have, if you were having like breakfast, you would have a brew with your breakfast?
Probably. But then if I'm on at 10 at night, I'm not going to be having an 8 o'clock coffee. Probably.
See, I think that was.
Yeah. I used to kind of Red
Really?
Bull.
We used to like doubles is naturally like usually last off in a tournament, so you're kind of like you're almost like just wasting a day thinking.
I would hate that. I
The
think.
stewing.
I would absolutely hate that.
Like, you're up, you go and have a hit in the hole, you go back for breakfast, you go to sleep, you go for lunch, you probably have another coffee, and then it's like 6 p.m. I've still got 4 hours. They're probably running behind.
Yeah.
I'll have another coffee.
Oh, you're cool. Yeah, it's not going to be you're on when they say.
No, it's because how long is a piece of string? How long's a badminton match?
Well, like we said, how long's
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
And
I used to hate when they told me it was a Friday night game, and it was like, it's a 7 o'clock kickoff, but I have to wait all day to play. Whereas Saturday, I got up, I could eat, force myself, go and do the warm up, and then the game's here. See, at night I can do it, and then see it in past that time. I don't know how I'm in.
Oh, I don't perform my best past 6 o'clock. I would
really?
say. Yeah. Naturally, I just don't like to be active in the evening. I like to be slothy horizontal in the
Perfect.
evening.
I think it's quite an interesting one though, because it's like training times is kind of fixed by that as well.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this when I was still training. Of like you're in the morning and you were maybe in the afternoon. It's changed a bit, obviously, timing wise for you recently.
At home, I never play badminton past 5 o'clock.
Oh, really?
Nope.
If you can help it, or you
No,
like
we have
100%.
no evening sessions.
5 o'clock kitchen, Kirsty, just fucking I'm out there.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, we've still got sets to do. Nope, sorry.
No.
4:59. I'm out here.
Genuine, would you do that though if it was getting close?
No. But like none of our sessions go past 5 o'clock.
Because you've made them.
No, just because
Would you do like yawn loudly as it gets to like 20 past 4? Yeah.
my tummy starts grumbling. No. But then other people are, paying customers are in to use the courts in the evenings.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, because you're doing that. Yeah.
It's a public centre, so we don't have any evening sessions, and it maybe would be useful to dot a few in here and there, but you just have to kind of get on with it if you're put on late at night. Paddy, what's the latest you've ever gone on court in a tournament?
Probably about 10, 11 at night.
I've stepped on court at half midnight.
Really?
Played until 1:15.
There's surely, was it that Wimbledon match that went on till like 10, and they eventually said we're going to have to wrap and you'll come back tomorrow morning. But they made them go on at like, is it 7:30 or something before the other ones kicked off?
The only time I've ever seen like a badminton match stop one day and be resumed the next day was Malaysia Open in January, because there was a leak in the roof and it was leaking onto the court, and so they had to just pause the game and then just start it again.
See if you finished that and you were playing really well, and then they told you to stop, and then you go to bed and you wake up and feel like crap.
Yeah.
You just go, I don't want to go back.
Yeah.
I think I would be like that. Change my mind.
Yeah, because it's like, I think I remember it's like mixed was always morning, singles will be mashed there, doubles at the end. So if you're playing doubles and mixed and you get through, you then like a late finish and then you're up early the next morning.
You're 9 in the morning, 8 at night, and then if you win them both, you're 9 in the morning and then 8 at night.
Yeah.
And then as the tournament goes on, the day gets shorter because they don't have to fill in as many matches because the draw is getting halved.
Do you tell them your 5 o'clock rule?
Unfortunately not, and I don't think they would listen if I did.
Try. Have you asked?
Just don't turn up.
Yeah.
That's the to
Yeah.
call too.
Oh, sorry, I don't work past 4,
Yeah.
actually.
Could wrap this up at 4, please. That's interesting though. Like, if you know you're going to be on later, do you then not drink as much coffee first thing, drink it a little bit later in the day
Yeah, I think
to then help later on? So you still do it, but you're just not doing it before your
Yeah.
matches.
Definitely.
I suppose like obviously you work in a coffee shop, and it's like most, like I wake up, I'll have a coffee with my breakfast. You'll probably have one before you train. Working in a coffee shop, I remember doing events where you'd just be sitting there, just sipping. I don't know how many coffee you have, but like if you're working, how many are you having like through a day?
2. And I don't drink after 2 o'clock.
Because you've learned your lesson.
Yeah.
You've got a test to go on.
Because I 20 past 4. No, I used to have that same problem. I used to drink a lot. So in the morning when you open the shop, you dial in, you don't drink full shots, but you have a couple of sips, gets you going, and then once the machine's dialed in, you make your brew. If you're working with someone, you make their brew and whatnot.
Yeah.
You could, before you even open, have 4 coffees. So I've now, that was too much, but then I used to have really bad insomnia, which at the time I didn't really realise it once I stopped playing, was probably from concussions, and then I was drinking coffee on top of that. So I realised I should probably try and fix that. So I now only have 2 coffees a day, and I don't drink past 2 o'clock normally, if I can. This is a podcast.
Yeah, that was a tough one today. The morning coffee, wait until
Yeah, I'm good.
after 4 o'clock because my head was getting sore and sore.
See, I don't.
But I've never had that.
I've never experienced the headaches.
My
Yeah.
brother, so when Ian, my brother used to be a chef, and he would do silly long hours, and he would drink a lot of espresso during a shift, and then he used to cycle home so he could try and burn some of the coffee off, and then he would stay up and play his PlayStation, which didn't help, fall asleep, and then go and do it the next day. So when he opened his coffee shop, he was used to like chefing hours, smashing coffees, and he was really bad at detoxing when he went, say, on holiday. He didn't have the coffee next to him. He would have the headaches. I've never had that though.
I think it was the worst when I was up at like 4 or 5 a day. Like if you didn't have one, then the head was banging.
Interesting.
And if we introduced, I suppose, today's coffee from Barcelona, 3 marks.
Yes.
What was it? Bergamot,
Bring them up, blood orange, lemon zest.
all flavours are coming through.
Exactly that, yeah.
Absolutely.
Cocktail.
But yeah, when we were out there, and obviously, especially went to Barcelona just for this coffee in this episode, we flew early morning, token beer, you're on a stag do, 5 in the morning, what else would you do? Then it comes to like 11 o'clock and like me and my roommate and then our heads are starting to hurt because we had no coffee.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Maybe it's a bit of tiredness as well, actually.
In the morning beers.
And
I went on holiday with my friends, Corey and George, in 2019, and we turned up at the airport and they were like, right, beers in. But like I go to the airport so often that to turn up to the airport and then go for a beer, I'd never done it before. And they were like, beers in, and I was like, oh God.
no,
Right. No. And it threw me off completely.
Come overnight oats here. Just calm down. Like.
I'll be going to Pretch, I think, actually. Not to get a coffee.
well, when that retirement day hits, then it's going to be a whole new experience. the airport
Listen,
experience.
you won't get me out that spoons.
Cans. But yeah, I mean, even from me, I travel quite a bit with work. The thought of not having a coffee rather than a beer in the airport is, I would make one to travel. I'm 10 minutes to the airport.
Yeah.
I'd still make it in the house to get one in, but except for my cut off and stuff. So yeah, travel days are hard as well. Eh?
Yeah. And
Coffee snob.
yes, there's some.
I heard Emirates do a really lovely black coffee though.
What class are they in though?
Best
The
best
old economy.
best airport for coffee. Go. If you have opinions, I've got opinions. / I've got a number one.
I think maybe if you start, because I need to have a think about this.
Well, I'm gonna go straight.
I think I know what you're going to say.
Copenhagen Airport.
I thought you were going to say that because I was going to say Copenhagen.
Yeah.
Copenhagen, or when I went via Singapore because they had a little
Nice.
pop-up place. But Copenhagen, yep.
Copenhagen for coffee, food, and shopping.
In general, yeah.
I've said it, but I said it before, and I'll say it again. I would choose to spend time in Copenhagen Airport. I love it.
Just booking flights.
It's when you know you travel too much just to sit in the airport.
There's
The terminal over here. Like.
To go via Amsterdam or Copenhagen. I'm taking Copenhagen every day. I want those sweet KLM points, but do I want a gasoline grill? Yes, I'm going to go Copenhagen.
At least we all know, like, going forward, can I see summer holiday? Copenhagen.
It's so easy to shop for.
Find me.
Airport voucher, like a silver bun voucher, but for Copenhagen. I have to agree. Yeah. Copenhagen.
Definitely, because they've got a good coffee place in Arquette. They've got Espresso House, which is of the chains, not offensive. They've got Copenhagen Coffee Lab.
Yes.
And they've got somewhere else, can't remember. But your Laukkehuset is not terrible.
You basically spoiled the choice.
Yes.
In one building.
And I can't think of any airport that had a good coffee.
That's because they're mostly trash.
Yeah.
Really good Pret on the way home from Barcelona.
Wow.
Controversial opinion about chains, though.
Mm-hmm.
That if you are at a real struggle to get one, get Pike Place filter from Starbucks.
Really?
It's cheap, but it's the best option.
Okay, I find which of the chains do you find the least offensive on the taste buds?
Costa.
Costa, same.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Yeah.
I think
But
Starbucks
frankly,
is
I'll
normally
try.
the most offensive for me.
It's Burnie tobacco water.
I was going to say, I quite like Cafe Nero's black coffee.
Okay.
It's not too offensive.
Mate, try it.
Costa makes me think of because they have vending machines everywhere now.
True.
And my wife's family live in rural Donegal. The only coffee you can normally get is a Costa vending.
Costa Vendi.
I spent 4 days coaching up in Wick, and I forgot to take coffee, and it was like
How
Morrison's local Costa.
Cool.
It got me through.
Yeah.
I would rather Nescafe than
Yeah,
Costa
I'd
Vendi.
have bought a tin or something. Yeah.
That was one of the
Nescafe Azira, the instant,
Azira,
is the
decent.
only good instant.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the hardest points. Is I think I had we were talking about Indonesian coffee the other day.
Yeah.
I think I had one from maybe the cartel. Took it home to my partner. It's like, oh, try it. Literally nearly spat in my face because it was like, oh, it tastes off. No, that's just how it tastes.
Oh.
It was like proper funky, but it was like
That was
completely changed.
having run a coffee shop now and been working in coffee shops. It's so funny. Like you say that about.
Yeah.
So you buy a nice coffee and you go, I love that. And then I give it to like the old boy that comes in, old boy Bob from upstairs, likes a black coffee, sometimes with hot milk if it's a cold day. And 9 times out of 10 he doesn't notice until I put something really nice on and he goes, what was that?
That tastes like flowers.
I don't like that.
What, we're getting that bergamot.
Yeah. It's usually, what did he called it? Fluffy coffee. Fluffy coffee.
Well,
I don't like that fluffy coffee.
I am next week travelling to, well, depends when this podcast goes out, but I am soon to be travelling to Singapore and then Indonesia. So I'll bring the team back some fluffy coffees.
Fluffy coffees.
From
Old boy
those
Bob
spots.
from upstairs will love it.
Yeah.
Maybe Bob can do the fourth one.
Jeez. Do you know, and it's in that Bob's an absolutely fascinating old guy that's been coming into our shop since we've been open, so 8 years. And the first 2 years he used to come in, never said a word, ordered his coffee, and if it was quiet he would sit in, read his paper. If it wasn't, he would take it back upstairs. And then a couple of years ago he started coming in, just started telling us stuff. So I think he must be, I don't know, maybe mid-60s, and he's a retired teacher, but he lived in Canada for 20 odd years and he taught science at a Catholic school in Canada, and then he taught football team, then he learned ice hockey when he was whatever age, started teaching that, and then he's now all he does is travel, and he speaks like Italian, Spanish, a little bit of Latin, and so he's a very interesting guy when he speaks on his terms.
That's quite interesting.
So it might be a terrible guest.
Meh.
But it's almost like it's that fake it till you make it, isn't it? He sounds like he's done a bit of everything and he's made it.
Yeah.
And then he's made it.
Yeah, funny story. He came in and told us about. He came in one day, super smart, like shirt and tie, took the hat and everything, looked really nice.
Is that
Gloves.
not the dress code for Toro?
Only on Sundays.
Oh, okay.
You come in Sundays. And it's usually the trench coat, the coaching jacket. That he never takes off, even though he's indoors.
Oh, the sleeping bag.
The sleeping bag, yeah.
The long coat.
Yeah.
Big Bob came in, super smart, like nice aftershave and everything. I was like, awfully smart. Where are you going today? He went, oh, it's my sister's anniversary. is it 50 years? He said, no, that's class. 50 years wedding anniversary. No, being a nun. I've been invited to a lunch in, whether it's a nunnery or whether she was seminaries, priests, whatever the nuns are. I have to go for lunch with her, so I had to wear my best gear to go for lunch with all these nuns. I was like, I did not expect you to say 50 years in it.
I didn't expect that to come up on a podcast either.
There you go. Coffee shop. That's coffee shop chat.
Oh God, you must see some characters and hear some stories.
Yeah, it's pretty good. We're quite good though. Our coffee shop, as much as I hate the term specialty coffee shop, we are, because we change our coffee every week, but we still cater for old boy Bob, who likes his black coffee, and the old dears that come in for a pot of tea and a bun. So, but we still get coffee nerds.
And I suppose, how does, going back to the first episode where you talked about rugby, how did you transition from rugby to coffee to photography?
I think that's quite a natural transition to make.
Very natural.
What we're talking about.
Very natural. Well, funnily enough, it's
question.
Yeah, thank you. Easily. Yeah. Well, yeah, as we said earlier, that sport and coffee kind of do marry up. When I was playing, all the boys finished training, would hang out, get a coffee, or you'd meet up before a game, go to a coffee shop next to the rugby club, and it kind of progressed from there. As I say, my brother, he used to be a chef, then he became a CrossFit coach while he was still chefing, weightlifting coach, and he did triathlons. He decided to quit chefing to open a clean eating coffee shop. So nice food, nice lunches, breakfasts, and then really, really good coffee. And then I quit my job coaching and started working there. Helped him run it for 5 years.
And then you thought,
and then I
this
wanted,
place is too small for me, I'm going to open my own place.
I'm big time.
Yeah.
We
I
need
was
some
an absolute
cinnamon buns.
An absolute, yeah, none of that healthy nonsense. Full sugar, everything. I got really good at latte art, and then I went, I can do this.
You're going to need to hook us up with some Oppo cookies, because you're a guy in the know, and they're hard to get.
I am.
They are hard to get.
We have our signature cookie from them.
Yeah.
We do. Peanut butter jam.
Oh, what a...
And it is a peanut butter jam.
Anything jam, and I'm in.
Correct.
Oh.
Anything peanut butter and that, man.
Oh.
There you go.
Yeah.
God, we're made for each other, Patrick.
We are. What happened? How did it not last when you were 12?
They'll never know.
I think we do know.
There was an elephant there.
To be revealed on a later episode.
Yeah. But I mean, coffee just went with my sport. You can zoom in if you need to. It went with sport. It went with what I was into, and enjoyed weirdly working in a shop. Didn't think I would enjoy it as much. I thought it would just be cool working with my brother. And then it turns out I've really got into coffee. So I'm my own place.
Nice.
And then that's where I met all of you.
How did you settle on Toro for a name?
So I would say it's a boring story. I used to have a business partner.
Bored.
That sounds so exciting, doesn't it? The guy that was supposed to open the shop with us when we first came up with the idea was a friend of mine called Tony, and I am Ross. Toro.
I see what you've done there, actually.
Everyone thought we combined it and it was really good, and then he shit the bed and went, I can't do this, and left, and I
Roll coffee.
went with it myself, and I thought, I'm sticking with the name.
It does sound better than Rotto.
Rotto, yeah.
So yeah, although there's a new one called Sick opening up.
Oh, there's some funny names for coffee shops.
There's a coffee shop called Sick opening up.
There's some really funny, like good names, but there's some really bad ones as well.
Yeah. Some of them don't roll off the tongue.
No. We wanted to keep it. I've got this really odd, it's not superstition. It's going to sound really bad. I don't like things that people name it their name. You know, like Rossi's hairdressers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I wanted to avoid that, and that's why we really struggled with a name. And then it was actually a business partner that said, why don't we do Toro? Then he left, and we stuck with it. And I liked it because it was short. As well.
Short and brandable.
Come along one morning and just get like a wee marker pen, just put the two S's.
Yes, yeah. Just to really annoy me. And we liked the short name. We liked that it was our two names, then it wasn't. But then I didn't know this. The year I was born was the year of the ox, which is essentially like a bull. Yeah. So therefore, Toro like a bull.
Yeah.
So and then it's
the year of the rooster.
The rooster.
What are you?
Feel like a rabbit or something. Yeah. Grasshopper or something.
Rat.
So, yeah. Ooh, gossip.
Oh, sorry.
Now I know why you're not together.
No.
But yeah, short name. it stuck, and then that's been 8 years, coffee.
Nice.
Well,
So,
8 years is Toro, sorry.
Yeah, the rest is history.
The rest is history.
so I guess we've all gone in, I suppose, like different routes in sport, in coffee.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have stuck fairly close to it, whereas I'm going the opposite. I did sport, became a sports coach, did events for sports teams, and then got out of it and got into coffee. Whereas you're going the other way. You're sporty, who's now into coffee, but was probably
Yeah,
a bit sooner.
you've gone more coffee. I've gone more sport, and I feel like you've kind of you've gone both.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sitting on
You
the fence.
tart that loves both of them.
Can't
Yeah.
quite decide.
Yeah, make a decision, Patrick.
I keep looping back to this coffee idea.
It's not going. It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hello again. That is the end of episode 2, part 1. So join us again next week for the eagerly anticipated episode 2, part 2.